guys, and welcome to Let's Cut the Shit with Monica.
And Phil. So we are going to be introducing us as a podcast. So let's cut the shit. Kind of what it says in the name is we talk about life topics, we talk about politics, we talk about business, financing, life events.
Really just anything. So we want to cover everything and anything, and you guys are always welcome to send topics in, requests.
Yeah, join us. So we're going to be connecting a phone system so that you guys can call in when we do our live shows, as well as we will add your comments to the pre-recorded shows. And also, the main aim is like I said, it's the name is let's cut the shit. Let's get rid of all of this, fluffy bullshit that goes around a lot of podcasts out there, and that should be real. Let's hear real life opinions and have some heated debates. And yeah, it might get heated at times, but I think that's going to make it interesting. So, we're going to kick off today with a topic that is very on point at this point in time, which is, the shift in politics in the United States and
the change of administrations.
Yep, and we saw yesterday Biden's first day in office. So we'll summarize that, and then we will be going into things talking about business grants and how the stimulus checks system may change and what advice we can give you around that topic. Then we're going to be talking about the impact of social media on our teenagers these days. So let's kick off. So as everyone knows, officially the inauguration happened yesterday.
Biden and Harris are now in office.
Yep. So the transition of administration, although not a friendly transition, actually happened. So, there's been a landmark for several reasons. So one of them is, it was the biggest turnout of voters in American history, which I think is good. It shows that younger people
are caring and are getting out there and they're making their voice count. Because I think, America has struggled with the youth not caring, right? And if anybody should care, it's the youth, because it's going to affect them the longest. It's going to affect them the most.
Yeah, and I think also it just shows that people are starting to become wise to the fact that who runs the administration of the country really does have an impact. And unfortunately, at the moment, we've seen a massive divide across the country, and I think that divide has spilled into other areas, which we can touch on in a later podcast. But I think it's just allowed younger generations to wake up and realize that their voice is important and they need to make it heard. And generally, also older people who didn't vote before, and I think it's impacted everyone from all backgrounds, all ethnicities, all minorities,
I think
majorities.
Overall it made everybody realize that, they do have a civic duty to go out and vote, and it's not just about themselves, Your vote determines much more than just the initial impact on yourself.
Yeah. So, as we said, it was a landmark for several reasons. So just the fact that the amount of voters is one of them, but then also
with Kamala, she is the first woman vice president. She is the first woman of color vice president. She is the first daughter of immigrants vice president. That's a lot of firsts.
Yeah, and I think also it sets the path for other aspiring women who want to make it in politics. And, I know some of them are already in the Senate, they're starting to make a name for themselves. And I think it really shows that it doesn't matter who you are. If you have something to add to the country and you have people in mind, then why shouldn't you strive for the biggest position in office? It's there for the taking. I think she really set that tone.
We own the world, ladies.
Exactly. So, that was one of the first landscapes that we kind of saw, and one of the first trends that we saw out of this. Also, we see a lot of shifts in terms of even just look at the celebration. It was one of the most diverse celebrations that we've seen for a president coming in. Even looking at Barack Obama, didn't have as much diversity in his. And I think, what I took away from the celebrations was how much of it was aimed strategically towards demonstrating the diversity across the U.S. and how we should be united. As well as I think it pointed out and kind of gave a nod to a few characters throughout history.
For sure. I think this was the most diverse inauguration, in history of the United States. I think, they try to make sure they included a little bit of every culture, because overall we are one, we're American, but culture-wise, there's so many other,
I think also this idea of having one majority is kind of going out the window, and I think that's good. I think we're starting to realize that we should celebrate everyone. We should take all cultures and